Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Uh, I guess I've been eating too much and drinking too much and doing the same as everybody else over the Christmas period. And now I've got a stinking heavy cold. So I'm paying the price now because I feel like shite. Anyway, what have I been up to? Well, two slight alterations to two modifications. The first one was you saw I put a gear lever on the bike, a different gear lever, one with a crank in it, a couple of 2 or 3 videos ago. Well, I tried it and it was just a little too high, so I've rotated it down by one spline, and it might still be a bit high. It might have to go down another one. But the issue I've got with that is I tend to wear these motocross boots, and they're not very flexible. So I'm quite critical on positioning with that. So it's suck it and see, test it and see how we get along. And the other alteration, also on this side of the bike, this is quite a while ago. When I did the K&N filter, I put a crankcase breather to atmosphere on it. Now, originally, that's actually part of the original pipe there, but originally I had it routed out of the engine, down there, under the air intake, and then it curled back up and ended up there, hidden behind the side panel. Now, the downside to that, or I thought about this just by chance, and the downside to that is you do get sort of oil and misty vapour coming out through the crankcase breather as a result of revving it and letting off the revs and revving through the gears and all the rest of it. The pressure inside your crankcase changes, and so it sucks and blows and blows and doesn't blow quite so much, so you can get the tiniest bit of a mist forming and going up the pipe. So I didn't want any part of the pipe to be lower than the breather, and it was originally because it came down there. My reasoning behind that being I didn't want it to eventually and ultimately fill up with oil and stop the engine from breathing, or make it spit oil out the top with the pressure that was going through there. So I've taken the long pipe off, and again this is experimental because you can see this now even with the side panel on, although if I was running the original side panels you wouldn't see it. So what I've done is I've used that original piece of Triumph pipe. That's a piece of pneumatic pipe, and that is what they call a pneumatic suppressor. It's actually used in industry, and it will go on something that exhausts compressed air just to reduce the noise a bit. It's a very, very fine gauze. It's a sort of a resin gauze, and it breathes in and out. But now the crankcase can breathe. Any mist or vapour or any solids that end up in this pipe, when the bike stops, will run back down and back into the engine. So that was my reasoning behind that. Now, also while I'm here, something I read about on the Triumph pages on social media and sometimes on the Triumph forums, people complain about the footrests. Now, bear in mind, you all well know my thoughts on this. This is not an off-road bike, as far as I'm concerned. And the footrests are great. They look like off-road footrests, but of course they're not mounted directly to the frame. They're mounted to both sides. They're mounted to cast brackets. So there's going to be a bit of flex. If you clout them, you're going to snap that cast bracket. On the other side, it does a double job. It's a footrest mount, and it goes through the rear brake lever as well. So there's a big part of this bike that just is not designed for off-road use. And I'll give you an example. If we look at I'm in my garage and it's a little bit dingy and dark in here. But as an example, this bike is a dual sport. Both footrests are mounted, welded, well, they're folding footrests, but the bracket that they're mounted to is welded direct to the frame. It does one job and one job only. It mounts a footrest. Same both sides. And as you can see, they're actually slightly, they don't stick out quite so far. They might be slightly, have a little bit more depth, but not a great deal. But the same thing, they're made of steel with serrated edges so your boots grip. There's a little thought of mine on proper off-road pegs for off-road bikes, and of course off-road bikes are narrow, which is why they're nearly always singles, so that when you're going up little rocky tracks and the rest, you don't have big bits of engine sticking out either side of the frame that you're going to clout. And any bits that do stick out, you have a heavy duty sump guard that also doubles as a bit of an engine guard. And you can actually see where I have used this off-road, and I have scuffed a few little bits of it. So that is my thought on the difference, one of the many differences between a real off-road bike and a Triumph Bonneville that's made to look like an off-road bike. Anyway, I will be back out on the road again soon. Got a few events coming up this year. They're in the months ahead. So I'll take you along to a few of them and a little bit of riding around generally. And I will see you all soon. Take care.